All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. Coach, we're past the festive period, so to speak. Liverpool
I'm
are
not.
7 points clear.
I'm not sure we're past the festive period. I mean, it's been a pretty good day for Liverpool, one way and another, hasn't it?
Yeah, great results from other teams for us, and Liverpool just coming off a 3-1 victory over Leicester City. Coach, first of all, to the viewers and to the listeners, apologize for us not being able to get on for the Fulham game or the Tottenham game or the Southampton game. Coach has been traveling. I have a very, very intense Christmas period. So we apologize about that, but we will keep it going. And we are going to talk about a couple of those games as well. Coach, now we're past Christmas. You always kind of reserved your analysis of where we're going to end up till Christmas. You wanted to see where we are at Christmas. We're the day after Christmas, Boxing Day. Liverpool are 7 points clear, one game in hand, maybe 6 points clear after tomorrow, depending on how Arsenal do. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, on Liverpool, obviously, it's been a fantastic start to the Arne Slot era. I mean, I don't think anybody can say anything different about that. And at times, I mean, he's done ever so well because he had a strong squad, as he has noted on a couple of occasions. He has a very strong squad, but yet he's taken it on. He's shown some variety in the way that Liverpool play. And bottom line, I mean, one cliche I keep hearing about the Premier League is it's a results-driven league, and yeah, I mean, he's certainly got plenty of good results, so it's got to be satisfying for him from that perspective as well. So a fantastic season so far, and Liverpool are still one shy of the halfway mark in terms of games in the Premier League, and of course in Europe they're already qualified for the knockout round. So yeah, I mean, it's a great situation to be in. But I keep telling myself, well, there's still a long way to go. There's still a long way, and many things can happen. So I think Liverpool are in a situation where they're clearly in they're clearly in contention of the front runner, and it's a question of can they keep it going, and I don't think you can say 100%, but everything indicates that they can.
Yeah, it's been just a remarkable season so far, and it just seems we have so many interchangeable parts now. At the beginning of the season, we were talking specifically about Gakpo and Luis Diaz, and now Jota's back, Harvey Elliott's back. So the midfield now with Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Jones, Elliott, Endo. I mean, and then the defense when Connor Bradley gets back, Connor Bradley and Trent on the right. Tsimikas just got a cameo today, so he's back. Him and Robertson in the back. Konate's still out. Gomez has stepped in and played very well. I mean, the team just from a depth perspective is playing very, very well, and it just goes to show that this team really has a lot of very good players that can step in and do the job when somebody's not playing well or injuries or whatever the case may be. Luis Diaz didn't even see the field today, and he's been incredible, and we still get a 3-1 victory.
Yeah, I'm guessing he'll start on Sunday. I think that's when the next game is. He'll start in the next game. So I think he's using his cards well, and as you say, players are coming back. And Gomez has stepped in for Konate and has done well, and a little bit like the Kelleher type situation where
Right.
Probably
Yeah.
once Konate's fit again, he will slide back to the bench. So it's yeah, I mean it's a great squad as we keep saying, and the manager has done a fabulous job of rotating, playing his cards, and the net result is top of the league in both England and Europe.
So this game was a little bit weird. The fog made it very difficult to see kind of what was happening on the far side of the pitch, which would be the left-hand side of Liverpool's attack. For about 30 minutes, I had no idea what the hell was going on over there with the fog, at least from the American broadcast. But Leicester gets one opportunity, although they did look dangerous on a couple occasions. In the 6th minute, Jordan Ayew does a good job shielding Robertson. He kind of turns, shoots, and it gets a deflection off of Van Dijk. Other than that, it was pretty quiet. And Gakpo's goal right before the end of the half, I think, was critical from a standpoint of going into halftime and knowing you're 1-1 with a team that was clearly trying to hold on and time waste and all that stuff. Coach, coming into the second half, I was confident, but just the complete domination of the half was incredible. What was a couple things that you picked up maybe that Arne Slot changed at halftime? Not that they weren't dominant in the first half, but it just seemed they were more decisive in front of key situations and areas.
Yeah, I thought Liverpool were decent in the first half, but in a sense played into Leicester's hands because they had the two big lads in central defence, very experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were putting in a lot of crosses, which basically the two of them just gobbled them up and cleared. And I felt they showed a little more variety in the second half in terms of playing that ball not just wide but inside the fullback and the central defender, and that seemed to pay dividends because it got Liverpool players behind the Leicester defence. And once you're behind, then you can really start to expose a team. And essentially, that's how they scored the second goal. Play down to the end line, ball's cut back, and you've got several players running in. And on this occasion, it was Curtis Jones who got the finishing touch. So I think that was one big change. And then there were a couple of other things. They were trying this corner kick routine with everybody at the far post.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Which from Trent's side of the field, it was interesting to see that he got replaced in the second half for his corner kicks because I'm not sure any of them really got past the first man.
Yeah.
And once McAllister was on it, then it was a different kettle of fish. Liverpool started to look more dangerous from corners, but yeah. So as always, the manager seems to make some tweaks, looks at the opposition, sizes them up, and I think there were less of these balls going straight to the two central defenders after the break, and Liverpool soon got results.
Mo Salah, 16 goals in the Premier League. I mean, I know I've said this so many times on this podcast, but it's incredible. He's still 2 goals, 2 assists last game. We'll talk about the Tottenham game just because of what a wild, fun game that was. But I mean, that and then scores today, beautiful goal, uses the defender as a shield and kind of curls it around him. Classic Mo Salah goal. Instead of it being in the top corner, played it low. Coach, what else can we say about this guy? And how is he still doing this? He's a talisman. He's doing it from a wide area. He can be quiet for a while, and then he comes up. I mean, how?
Well, I thought he made some errors in the first half when he was in great situations, but he just keeps going, doesn't he? He keeps going through every game. And when you see the goal that he scored from behind the goal and the way it kind of bisects two defenders, it,
Hmm.
it's just some finish, and he seems to be able to consistently not just score, but to score special goals.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's just having a phenomenal season. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting going into January whether we get any progress in terms of the contract situation with Salah, because we have to believe that there's going to be a line of clubs queuing up to try and secure his services.
Yeah. Um, Obviously, that it can't be the Premier League if he signs any pre-contract. Does have to be outside the country, but I don't know how you replace him, considering the transfer fee you'd have to pay to get somebody. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of players like Mo Salah, obviously, but
No.
you have to pay an outrageous transfer fee to get somebody in with similar, we'll call it just ballpark, similar ballpark talent, versus just pay him and keep the transfer fee for left back and maybe another number six, even though Gravenberch has been absolutely incredible. The Hopefully we get this thing done relatively soon. I was thinking, Coach, literally yesterday for Christmas, I thought that we would get an update from the team saying, with Van Dijk and Salah and Trent, or two of the three, or one of the three, Merry
Mhm.
Christmas. These players, this player has, signed a contract extension, but that hasn't happened.
Yeah, and obviously it keeps the dialogue going. And while the dialogue is going, there's always going to be the feeling from the media that this is something that's going to negatively affect Liverpool's campaign.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's been ongoing, and it's continuing, showing no signs of coming to an end.
So, Coach, earlier today, Chelsea's up 1-0 against Fulham. And in the 87th minute, Harry Wilson, a former Red,
Hmm.
ties the game. And then in extra time, Muniz scores a goal to put them up 2-1. So Chelsea drops points. Earlier today, the very first game, Everton, Manchester City, Everton draws 1-1. And the reason I'm bringing this one up specifically is because our game against Everton was postponed. But since then, they've played Arsenal, Chelsea, and Manchester City and drawn all three games. I'm
Hmm.
wondering if this is maybe a blessing in disguise that we didn't have to play them during that storm that came through, and now we get them maybe a little bit later, or Sam Dyche just decided, hey, we're playing these teams back to back to back. We're going to sit defensively and uh, and play the Sam Dyche style of football.
Yeah, I mean, Dyche knows how to set up a team defensively, and I understand. I think I heard a stat that they might have the best defensive record over about the last month, not just in England, but in the five major European leagues. The
Hmm.
problem the problem for Everton is at the other end of the field scoring. So he's obviously doing something right from a defensive perspective. And I know that my many Evertonian friends are a bit find it hard to give Sean Dyche uh, the time of day, actually,
Yeah,
because
right.
because they don't score much and they don't really play an attractive style. But I'm not going to go into Everton. I think the big thing is, yes, they've played three of our rivals, and each rival has dropped 2 points against them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure my Evertonian buddies will be telling me that the reason that Liverpool wins the league is because of Everton.
Well, we'll
So
tip our hat to you. Thank you, guys. We appreciate what you guys have done so far. Coach, let's back up to the Tottenham game. I
Yes.
mean, wow.
Well, it was a crazy game, but look at the first half performance by Liverpool. I mean, like that's
Yeah,
one of the best performances of the season. And a large part of it clearly has to do with the way that Tottenham play.
hmm
Uh, they're very open, like they're missing some of their players at the back, and Liverpool just took it to them and scored three. And as everybody seems to be saying, it could have been significantly more. So it was just a wonderful first half performance, and they kept that going early on in the second half, and then I think they slightly took their foot off the gas. And I mean,
yeah,
Tottenham's a good team going forward, and I know some fans were annoyed with the second and the third goal, but I would give the players credit. I thought they were good finishes by the Tottenham players. So
yeah,
I mean, that's the game. That's football, and I think you give credit where it's due. But basically, Liverpool just went down the other end and netted a six. So I mean, like that was the kind of game it was, and Liverpool just created so many chances, and I guess they took six away, and if you're going to be critical, you can say, well, they should have tucked away many more.
yeah. Coach Sabasli in that game was very impressive. He was running, he scored, he had an assist. He was, uh, if, I kind of looked at that game and knowing that Tottenham, just throws numbers forward. Granted, they didn't have some of their defenders, but that's their style of play.
Mhm.
They want to win 3-2, not necessarily a 1-0 or 2-0 game. And just Sabasai just slicing them right down the middle, playing almost like a number 10 was
Mhm.
very impressive. And I just thought to myself, man, can this guy put on that type of performance week in and week out? Because that is very impressive what he did.
Oh yeah, yeah. He had a fabulous game against Tottenham, and I believe he's getting a rest now for the West Ham game. He's not going to play against West Ham because of the yellow card situation. But yeah, I mean, he's a very, very good player, and he's become more consistent this year. I mean, I think sometimes people forget that last season was his first season playing in the
Yeah,
Premier League.
yeah.
And I mean, how many players do a Mo Salah and hit the ground running to that extent? I mean, like we saw flashes of him, especially early in the season last year. And then people began to question when he became more inconsistent. But he kind of knows what the situation is. He knows what the Premier League's like. He knows what to expect. He knows how to deal with it.
hmm
He has some confidence because he understands his role within the squad, as does Curtis Jones, because those seem to be the two that are rotating with one another,
hmm
and they bring different things to the game, definitely. But yeah, I mean, he's been fabulous, Bosley, this season, and he'll get his break against West Ham, and hopefully that freshens him up for Manchester United.
That's right. That's right. Luis Diaz scores two in that game. Mo scores two. Luis Diaz has been, I mean, he's very impressive. Coach, you always call him a lively player and very unpredictable. Uh, what else can we say about him? I mean, because he was flying all over the place, and he played almost like a Firmino role with a false nine type of uh, positioning. Um, but the first goal, his header was fabulous, and then the second goal which was the sixth goal of the game for Liverpool, when Mo Salah just kind of put him through, and he just low on the ground, far post, goalie had no chance. He's playing very very well as well. What are some other things what's different this year? Is it just the goals that he's adding to his uh to the score sheet that's kind of the big difference?
Well, he scored more goals this year, although he kind of went through a spell where he wasn't hitting the net. But he scored a lot early on, and then obviously added 2 at Spurs. But as we've said before, I think the big thing with Luis Diaz is he definitely brings something different to the team. He's a fighter. He's skillful. He's very unpredictable, and I think unpredictable for opponents. But yet at the same time, he's still part of the team ethos. You know, he's part of the group, and he contributes to the team, works hard, and really, I think that's with Diaz and really with every player that's on the squad. And I guess that this is where we have to look back to the previous manager, and I'm sure Arne Slot does as well, in as much as he has put together a squad of players that don't just have quality, but they work hard, they play for one another, and they're a team. You know, it's not just a bunch of individuals that go out and do their own thing, and they have some brilliance and they show something special here and there. It's, you know, there's some kind of collective thing within the group, and I think that's why Liverpool have been so strong this year.
Coach, there's what was this, the 17th game for Liverpool? So
17th in the league, yeah.
yeah, so 2 more games before we hit the halfway point, and being this far ahead and having this deep of a squad, you know, I think minus a couple players going down, you know, I think Virgil would be a massive blow, and obviously Mo would be a massive blow, and I'm knocking on wood and don't want any of that, obviously. But you know, other than those guys, I mean, anybody else can step into a number of roles and produce. So minus those 2, we really have you know, a really good shot coming down the stretch, and we're alive in all competitions, and we have depth where we can rotate. So you know, this could be a special season on a couple fronts.
Yeah, well, obviously, fingers crossed we keep it going. I mean, I can't recall. I can't recall how many points Liverpool were ahead the season that they won the league. I mean, like we all remember the game that they played Boxing Day then, when they went to
Mm-hmm.
Leicester and hammered them 4-0.
Yep.
And I know that they had a good lead at that point, and that season feels totally different than this season, because they'd had the disappointment of missing out on the league by a point to Manchester City the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And collectively, it was like the manager and the whole group said, right, you know, like we're going to go for it this year. And they did. And they were basically, it was front foot, take it to the opponent. And they were taking teams apart left, right, and center. This year has been a lot more low key, but yet they've still been gathering points as they go along. I think the big difference is basically what all the pundits are pointing out. It's a lot more controlled, and I think you saw that today because they get 2-1 up. Leicester has been sitting in and not showing a lot of intent to engage higher up the field. So
Mm-hmm.
they start playing the ball around at the back, saying basically, "Come and get it." And I can never really remember that with Jurgen Klopp. I think that what Klopp did as the years went along, he did modify certain parts of his play, and I
Mm-hmm.
think possession was one of them. But ultimately, even if they possessed for a while late in the game, they were still looking to go forward and take it to the opponent. Liverpool only do that if the opponent comes at them. If they don't come at them, then they just possess. And as I say, we saw that today.
With the helter skelter of Jurgen Klopp's style, we visibly saw our players get worn out, in March, April. It was visible, they were leggy, they were um, just seemed like they were spent. This style definitely can the modern game with so many games. This style can really save some legs coming down the stretch, as well
Mhm,
as the depth that I've talked about. Coach,
mhm.
is this a team that, with this style, with this depth, realistically can win a treble? Obviously they're still live for quadruple, but I mean, it's really realistic, isn't it? With this style and this depth, like it wouldn't be shocking.
Yeah, I think obviously there's an opportunity, but it's still too far out. Because even though Liverpool beat Tottenham handily the other week in the league, I mean, I could still see Tottenham getting a result against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup.
Hmm.
I mean, to me, that wouldn't be a shock. That wouldn't be a shock because on another day, maybe they get the early goal, they get the confidence, and it's a different game. They have a couple of their players returning at the back, so I think it's still way too far out to talk about the quadruple. And in terms of the league, I think obviously, that they've got to be favourites, understandably, but we're not even halfway through the season.
Hmm.
And then in terms of European competition, okay, like they've done great in Europe. They're clearly going to qualify, whether it's in first place or whatever. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. What matters is they qualify. Once it becomes knockout, then it's anybody's game. Then
Yeah, yeah, and depending if Real Madrid is in the Champions League, it's always scary.
yeah,
They always just know how to win that competition, and that's why they're the kings of that competition. But Coach, just looking a couple games down the road here, we have West Ham on Sunday, and then Manchester United the following Sunday. What have you seen from United with Ruben Amorim that maybe would concern Liverpool from a tactical standpoint and just an overall game standpoint?
uh, well, from a tactical and team point of view, nothing in particular so far because I think he's just finding his feet. I have a
Hmm.
feeling that he might be a good manager for them, but the issue is right now that he's inherited a squad, and it's a bit of a mismatch, and there's just so many players who either aren't performing well or are questionable. But having said that, there's a lot of talent too. So it appeared they'd lost the game at Manchester City, but somehow won it.
Yeah.
So you have to say, well, why did they win it? I don't think it was anything particular that the manager did. I think it's because he's got some talent on his team. And we saw that obviously to our detriment a bit last year, didn't we?
Hmm.
Especially in the run in with the FA Cup game, followed by the league game.
Hmm.
Manchester United has some good players. Collectively, they're nowhere near Liverpool. But could they get a result on the day? Well, the Manchester City game suggests yes. But so far, I think it's too early into the manager's reign to really say that he's had an impact. But my gut feeling is that he will eventually.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he was obviously somebody that Liverpool looked at before finally appointing Arne Slot, and I think these managers at these other leagues, when they perform very well and take a team that hasn't won in a long time and win a title. These are the people that we need to pay attention to, because they will be the next round of coaches going to bigger leagues and bigger teams. And Slot did it with Feyenoord. Emerim did it with Sporting. I think it's a good indicator of a coach that can implement his ideas and challenge for titles. So interesting to see. Obviously, Rashford has been dragged through the mud, um, but it takes a pretty strong character also to say, hey, too bad. I don't care if you're one of the better players here. You have to perform in practice. You have to work hard, and you're not working hard enough, in my opinion. So you're sitting. You're not even playing.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the manager is making a statement, and listening to the pundits talk about it, some of them are kind of, but he's such a great player, which kind of surprises me from the point of view that, okay, he's a great player, but if he's not performing to his ability, if he's not going the extra yard or two, then yeah, I mean, obviously the manager's a strong personality, and it looks like Rashford is on his way unless he decides to toe the line.
Coach, with your coaching background, dealing with players like this in general, what's the approach? Is it sitting them, or how would you approach a situation like this when somebody's not really giving it their all during practice and during training?
Well, I think it's different at that level because they have agents, and I think agents kind of get involved in the player's ear, and I think that's been suggested with Marcus Rashford. But overall, you've got to hit a delicate balance. I know sometimes players feel that everybody has to be treated the same, and to some degree they do, but at the same time, and you see this at Liverpool obviously with Salah. I think he's the prime example. Is he wants to play? He lets everybody know that he wants to play, and the manager probably. Well, I think he's by far the least rotated of the front three, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he's being treated differently, whereas clearly, if a Jota was fit all the time, that can score goals regularly, might feel he might feel, well, why is he getting treated differently than me? But I think that you have to have some common standards. So a common standard that's very easy to enforce is being on time for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, if a player's not on time for everything, then I think it's very easy for the coach or for the manager to penalise them for that. Then there are other things, and as I say, I think sometimes you've got to give leeway to certain players because they're crucial to your team, crucial to the way that you play and your plan. And as long as it's not something that's overtly against the grain. So, so for example, if Mo Salah is out all night the day before a game and everybody knows it, but yet he still plays for the full game, I think those are the kind of things that you have to deal with. But here and there, you give him a bit of leeway because he's so critical to your team plan.
Yeah, I understand that being a balancing act for sure. Coach, I got one more thing I want to kind of talk about. What center forward, a striker, could come in and really under this coach and this talent pool that we have, I mean, would a striker, would it I'm just going to use Holland as an example. If a Holland was in this team, how much more potent can this team get?
Yeah, be interesting to see with an Erling Haaland. I mean, um, I feel that he's a team player, but at the same time, he doesn't really do a lot of things collectively, as part of the team. I've always felt that Pep Guardiola basically realized that, okay, there are times, big games, when they dominate, but yet they don't get the critical goal. And so Haaland's role is to get the critical goal. And so I feel in some ways it's like they play with 10 men.
Hmm.
And then Haaland's job is just to be close to the net. The ball's going to be in there a lot, convert. Now, I haven't watched enough of Manchester City's games closely to say what is the difference right now, because he's going through a very dry run.
Hmm.
And I
Missed a
think that
penalty today, yeah.
yeah, and he missed a penalty, which obviously really for him is a gilt-edged chance.
Hmm.
But with the benefit of hindsight, he was scoring early through that early run of games. And I think something that maybe is overlooked a little bit was he was nearly. It becomes a question of, do they rely on him too much? Because all of a sudden, either he's being marked out of the game, whatever the situation is, game to game. Other players aren't stepping forward to fill the gaps, as it were, in terms of
Hmm.
goals. And I'm sure that that's going to be a factor into why Manchester City season has kind of taken a nosedive. And really, Guardiola is in a situation where he has nobody experienced ready made to take his position. So if Alvarez was still I think Alvarez is probably a player that Pep Guardiola would prefer, because there's a
Hmm.
lot more to his game. I
Yeah.
mean, he does score goals, maybe not as many as Haaland, but he's more involved collectively in the play, pressuring. I mean, Haaland will pressure, but I don't think it's his greatest strength. So so yeah, I mean, he's kind of painted himself into a corner. So does he go back to what he does pre Haaland and play with a false nine? Well, he has players that can do it, but in this particular kind of situation where there's got to be a loss of confidence, it's difficult. It's difficult for him. And part of me still thinks, well, it's not halfway through the season, so Manchester City are going to go on a run. And I think it's a league which, even though Liverpool have only lost once, I still feel it's a league where it's more like a pre-Manchester City era league
Yeah.
where teams can beat one another.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, there's a lot to be decided yet, obviously. And Liverpool's next game is at the weekend against West Ham. So
Yeah. The one forward that kind of comes to mind for me, a former Liverpool forward that I think would be excellent in this setup would be Luis Suarez. Works hard, magical, and then you just kind of think like, I close my eyes and I think about it, I'm like, holy cow, like getting somebody like that in a center forward role that can convert, that has some magic in his boots. I love Nunez's work ethic and all that. It just the end product is far too inconsistent, and the fact that Jota just gets hurt here and there, and he's not available all the time, and I just think of a center forward like Suarez that what he could do with a team like this behind him. It's interesting to see, the fact that we don't have an all out and out incredible striker, and we're still, mowing down teams. Some easier than others, some difficult games, but overall, coach, Boxing Day, 7 points clear, one game in hand, nothing really to complain about, right?
Nothing so far. So let's hope they end the year in similar fashion down at West Ham.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Liverpool Reaction and American LC podcast. YouTube, we are on YouTube. Please subscribe. Please view. We will try to do a better job to let everybody know when we're coming on, so that way you can watch live and comment, and we can reply to your comments and all of that. Just become a little bit more interactive. Coach, as always, thank you so much. I know it's a little bit late there in England, and we will talk after the game on Sunday, maybe Monday, but we will let everybody know. We'll do it through Facebook so everybody's aware. Feel free to follow myself and Coach on there, and take care, everybody. We will talk to you next time.
Yeah, season's greetings to everyone.
Yes, happy holidays. Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.